this show is for podcast hosts. So we want to support other hosts about podcasting. And I'm curious, what would you share to that person who's thinking about launching a show to be able to support whatever business that they have? If success is the name of the game, like what would you say to make the best podcast from your experience so far with your almost 100 episodes that you've done?
That's a great question. I would say the key part that I've enjoyed is networking with higher level people that are in a different part of the journey than I am. Networking with other business owners and learning from them. That's kind of what I've taken from having a podcast. I try when I have people on to like pick their brains, because I really am picking their brains. I want to learn as much as I can. So I feel like when people listen to it, they're able to learn probably the same questions, hear the same questions that they would probably ask, since I'm kind of newer to the space. When of a lot of people that I talk to, I don't really, I learned a lot about their businesses.
So this brings to a really good point. And I think that the listeners got to hear what you think about what I'm about to ask. And so you're talking about the benefits of your podcast. And one of the first ones is networking, growing your network, knowing who you can call and how to call them. And you're just growing that database of the people that you know.
Right.
The second one was you being able to pick brains or learn on your podcast. And you're really honest and integrous about like, your own knowledge about what you know and maybe your limits. And here's what I'm trying to say about that. Some people start a podcast and they want to be the number one about everything. They're like, the fake it till you make it is another thing that I hear. Like pretend to know this stuff. And then like eventually you'll know it, or a number of things, but you're willing to pick brains. At the same time, you've got a listener, and that listener might end up hiring you. And so you've got to put on a good show. You've got to show that you're smart and you know how to coach, even though you're asking questions and picking brains and learning yourself.
Right.
How do you draw that line? And think about it for the listener. Like they're hearing this and they're thinking through, like, what should I do? I mean, should I ask questions or do I need to be the expert? What would you say, Nathan?
Ooh, great question. You know what? I never really think of like, hey, me not being the expert in this matter of this guy I brought on makes me look bad. I don't have that mentality because, again, it's if someone's listening to me and they're like, yeah, this guy Nate doesn't know what he's talking about. I probably wouldn't want to work with that person just because I don't know. It just doesn't cross my mind that like that. I don't know. I can't be the expert of. So, for example, I had someone on that was doing renewable like green housing or something like that. They put like specific, I think like roofing on the house to make it just more green. Like I can't be the expert about that. I don't know anything about it. So if someone came in and was like, this guy doesn't know what that kind of roofing is. No, I can't lie about that. So I don't know how to answer that other than like, you got to be real. And if people don't like who I am, then it's probably not going to work out anyway.
Yeah. And so part of what I'm hearing is it sounds like, it might be reading between the lines. So correct me if I'm wrong. You absolutely know what you're doing in that space. You do show it on your podcast about wholesaling and everything, but there's other parts. There's other types of experts that you bring on, and you're fascinated and you like to learn and network with them. And so you'll ask them questions about that, but it's not like, how do you do a wholesale isn't maybe the question. Like, hey, I've never done a wholesale. How do you do it? You wouldn't be asking that.
No. If anything, it's kind of like how you did it. You said, for everybody that doesn't know what is a flip, like that doesn't mean people don't think that you don't know what a flip is, right? You're just trying to help them out and help the audience of new listeners. Kind of the same way, like, because I'll have a lot of students have had success stories on there. And just because I have someone that's brand new on there, doing their first deal doesn't mean I haven't done a deal, but I think if people can interpret, okay, he's the podcast host, he knows what he's talking about. But when it comes to like an expert in multifamily or self-storage, I'm not going to go in there and act like I know what I'm talking about. Maybe one day I will, but they're the expert. That's why I brought them on.
Yeah.